Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Morrow, EU, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your camera and microphone and/or go to the Facebook Live video feed, the link to which I will now place in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. Tonight, we are honored to welcome Her Excellency Julia Villatoro, the Salvadoran Ambassador to Austria and permanent representative to the United Nations and other international organizations in Vienna. Our featured guests are two of El Salvador's most outstanding musicians, Audiel Benjamín Ávalos, first prize winner of the Pan American Symphony Orchestra's Salvadoran Composers Competition, who joins us from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Juan Guerra González, second prize winner of the Pan American Symphony Orchestra's Salvadoran Composers Competition, who joins us from New York City. Madam Ambassador, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Simeon Morrow, as well. Special greetings to Mr. Audiel Ávalos and Mr. Juan Guerra González. Dear friends that today are online, warm greetings from Vienna, Austria, where we are right now. I would like to start by expressing our thanks to Mr. Simeon Morrow for organizing this event and dedicate this day to El Salvador. In particular, to allow the audience to learn about the life and work of two Salvadorian composers who are part of our diaspora and who have raised the name of El Salvador with their music and achievements. As Embassy and Permanent Mission of El Salvador in Vienna, we carry out many and different activities aimed at fulfilling the consular, bilateral, and multilateral functions, which are part of our mandate. Through these activities, we provide services to the Salvadorian diaspora, but we also strengthen relations with the countries where we are accredited to, while positioning El Salvador before the international community. Nevertheless, being aware on the importance of culture, the government of President Nayib Bukele is implementing the cultural diplomacy as a means to present ideas, information, art, language, and many other aspects of Salvadorian culture, which at the same time enable us to build bridges and to connect with other countries and their peoples. Most important, through this kind of diplomacy, we also have the opportunity to show the world the performance of national artists in different branches of culture. This is the reason why today I have the pleasure to introduce these Salvadorian artists as well as other details of their lives and work. I am very proud to share with you that their musical composition, through these musical compositions, these two gentlemen have been able to evoke Salvadorian folklore with tunes inspired by the souk and the chapetones de Panchimalco, which are part of the cultural heritage of my country of El Salvador. Mr. Audiel Ávalos and Mr. Juan Guerra González are winners of the Orchestra Chamber Contest, which was opened for Salvadorian citizens and foreigners with legal residence in El Salvador to participate with original compositions. Before giving the floor to the musicians, I also have the honor to present a short video through which all the audience will be able to see the beauty and the greatness of our beloved El Salvador. Enjoy it, and again, many thanks for this opportunity.
Este es un momento histórico. Es un punto de quiebre entre lo viejo y lo nuevo. Después de todo lo que hemos vivido, este es el rumbo que por tantos años habíamos esperado. Hoy se respira un aire diferente. Hemos convertido el miedo en esperanza. Los ataques en sueños. Y el no se puede en acción. En 200 años no habíamos tenido una oportunidad como esta. Nunca antes El Salvador se había sentido tan nuestro. Porque todos somos parte de este proyecto para un gran país. Estamos empezando a cumplir el sueño de que los salvadoreños seamos realmente libres y soberanos. Este es el verdadero El Salvador. Al fin, estamos escribiendo una nueva historia. Bicentenario.
Thank you so very much, Madam Ambassador. Welcome, Mr. Ávalos. Welcome, Mr. González.
Hello, Simeon. Thank you for this time and space, and for the space in the show, and thank you to the Embassy and Her Excellency, the Ambassador, for bringing us together and having this wonderful space with us.
Yes, good evening to all of you.
So, Mr. Ávalos, I'd like to begin with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you compose.
Well, let me tell you, my family is actually a family of musicians. My aunts and uncles had the opportunity to study at the National Center of Arts in El Salvador back when it was an accredited institution for higher education on music. They were one of the last promotions to be graduated from that wonderful institution. And from a young age, I was taught music, started some piano lessons, which sadly I did not continue because I was a little kid that wanted to play outside. But they planted a seed within me that was really a profound love of music. And later in life, when I was a teenager, I moved to the United States. I lived in Boston. And in Boston, I had the opportunity to learn music more formally, I actually had my first instrument was clarinet. So I was part of the school orchestra, and little by little, I found that I really liked the whole thing of music, just playing it, listening to it. I started fooling around with writing notes on sheet music, but it was all just kind of like just the spur of the moment type of thing. It was not until later when I got back to El Salvador that I started playing double bass and bass guitar at a local orchestra, that I really found out that I like to write music. I like putting my music on paper and then hearing it, having other people play it. That's like a really wonderful feeling. It generates a lot of excitement when you get to hear your piece being played and performed by someone else. And now I moved here to Buenos Aires, Argentina, to perfect myself in the craft of composition. So that's kind of like a brief summary of my life and how I'm still getting around and learning the craft, learning about all the things that you have to learn to be a great composer, or orchestration form, a deeper understanding of ear training to actually be able to hear what you want to compose instead of just playing it on an instrument.
Fantastic. Mr. González, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you became a composer?
Sure. So I think our histories are kind of very similar, but I would say music has been part of my life since the day I was born, basically. Actually, my first toy was a little music box that my mom got before I was born. But my training in music started when I was 4. My mom is also a pianist, an organist. So she tried to teach me when I was at that age. And maybe because of the age or something, I don't know, I didn't like music at that point. And I remember one day that I got so frustrated because my cousin learned how to play the first few notes of Für Elise on the piano faster than me. And at that point I was just pointing notes on the piano, but anyway, he did it faster than me. And I was like, okay, so I don't want to play the piano anymore. Then my mom stopped like pushing us. But when I was about 15 years old, back in school, next to our classroom was the office of one of the priests in the schools, and he had a piano in his office. And I remember that when we were doing our lessons, or science lesson, or math lessons, or something, he was playing the piano in his office, and I could hear the music, and he was playing Beethoven's Sonata. I remember that perfectly, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds so good. What if I could play like that?" That's one of the first thoughts I had. Then I came back to my mom and I was like, "Do you remember you tried to teach me to play the piano when I was 4? So I want to do it now." At that point, I also from school, I've been part of the marching band, playing the clarinet that I don't play anymore. But yeah, so my mom started teaching me. Then she decided to stop teaching me and took me to formal training in piano, because I wanted to be a concert pianist at that point. But then my piano teachers was like, "Oh no, you're too old," because I was 15. I don't think that is necessarily true at this point, but that's what he said. But if you can do something with music, we'll figure it out what you're gonna do in the future. Let's show you how to play the piano, and then we'll figure it out later. Then one day I wrote a couple of notes on a piece of paper, and I showed it to him. And when he saw it and he said, could you play it? Yes, I could play it. I play a few notes right there. It was like, I know what you're gonna do with music in your life. You're gonna be a composer. I was like, what?
Is there any
A
way you could
composer?
play us some of those notes right now?
Oh yeah, I think it was something very, very like, very easy, something like this. Just something like that. And I wrote for choir and just a couple of things. But then he was like, yes, you're gonna be a composer. And that's the first time I thought, okay, that could be true. And he decided to focus my training on that particular side, because up to that point, you cannot formally study music in El Salvador, right? So most of us that decide to do composition, I mean, all of us that we know, Salvadorans that decide to do musical composition, we had to go out, right, to be able to do it. And that's basically the short story why I became a composer and why I'm here, basically.
When you say you have to go out, it means that you have to join the diaspora and go to a different country. Is that what you mean?
Yes, because well, right now the only like options if you want to formally study music in El Salvador up to this point is, or you be a pianist or a guitarist, or I think they now have like music professorship, something like that. And you may correct me if I'm wrong, but music came as a field of study. It's really, really new in El Salvador, right? They started offering certifications and titles just like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I think. And music composition is not part of that form of training at this point right now.
Okay, well, let's hope that they have, well, we have the material, I guess, 2 great composition professors who could change that and begin a new composition program in El Salvador. So that brings us
Absolutely.
to our first,
That's
our first discussion. What is the work of a composer, and what is it to be a composer in El Salvador? I'd like to begin with Mr. Ávalos, please.
Yes, the work of a composer has been, kind of mythified. There's a whole idea of this genius, creative genius, that's little by little, at least by my training here, they tell you that that's not the case. There have been obviously some great composers in the history. You have to kind of compete with all that story of, Beethoven, Mozart, the great German Austrian composers. But aside from their greatness, we are taught as composers generally that it's a craft. So it's more, we view it, or at least the way that it's taught here, we view it more of it's a craftsmanship, just like a carpenter, or just like you would see a sculpture, or a pottery. It's that kind of work. It's about knowing what to do with few ideas musically and how to turn them into great ideas. And that's actually a lot of grunt work, a lot of sitting down at an instrument, or just being the most creative possible to create ideas with very few notes. But that's the fun part. I actually enjoy all that. Getting to sit down and see, well, I like this idea that's just like 5 notes, but how can I make this into an idea that's 12 notes? And then how can I connect that up with another idea that's a few more notes? And then, then there's the thing of what instrument will play this? Will this be played by just a piano? Will this be played by a whole orchestra? And there's a lot of thought that goes into that. Then there are ideas that get scratched out, that you just have to fight with your ego and say, oh, I love this idea. I really wish this idea could go through. But then you realize that it just doesn't work. It just doesn't fit in the big picture. So there's a big thing there of being, true to yourself.
Mr. González, do you agree? Is it about craftsmanship or is it about genius? What's the work of a composer?
Totally, I totally agree with Audiel, and I will add a little something to what he was saying. I think that to be a composer is also learn how to be an architect with music, right? With musical notes, because as Audiel was saying a little bit, I think one of the most difficult things to be a composer is try to put all the pieces together, and how you're going to combine those type of notes with another type of notes, or this theme with the other idea that you have already, and how to connect them to work coherently, right? And as Audiel was saying, be true to yourself and decide when you have the whole picture. Okay, is that musical section working? It's not working. Okay, I need to take it out, or leave it on the side for something else, and then rewrite. You usually, when you're writing a piece, I don't know, well, a lot of composers do it that way, that they just write, final dot, and that's it. So you need to go back and review, rewrite, review again, rewrite again, review again, and rewrite again. So all those puzzles that you're having and come at the end with the big picture, I think that's the work of a composer.
Okay, and Mr. Ávalos, back to you. The work of what is it, a composer in El Salvador, according to Mr. González, what he said before, they don't really exist. They're only abroad.
Yes, that kind of goes hand in hand with what Mr. González was saying earlier with regards to the limited access of education that we have in El Salvador. Personally, I had the luck of befriending a Honduran composer who himself had learned in Costa Rica. So some of us, like the ones that don't venture so far out, far away, distance-wise from El Salvador, some go to Costa Rica to learn their craft. Others go to Mexico. So that's kind of a must for a person that wants to learn the craft of composition. They really just have to go outside of the country, go out of the borders. And as I was saying, I had the luck of befriending this composer from Honduras. And he actually taught me things that really I wouldn't have learned in El Salvador. At that time, I was still living in El Salvador. So I learned from him things about form or about harmony and counterpoint. That would be much easier if, like you said earlier, we had an institution of higher learning where we could teach composition and, really have a bunch of youngsters learning this wonderful craft.
Okay. Mr. González, what is it to you, a composer in El Salvador? Is it connected to education, like Mr. Ávalos is implying?
Yes, totally. Well, I think in my case, it was a little different because I had the pleasure to work as a pianist of the National Choir for about 9 years. Then we used to play music by Salvadoran composers like once a year. But yesterday I was talking to a friend and saying that we need more Salvadoran music for the ensembles available in El Salvador, and that's great. That's starting to happen, and one of the things that have impressed me in the last few months at least since the competition happened, because we're going to talk, I know we're going to talk about the competition later, but one of the best things that the competition gave us was the chance to connect with other Salvadoran composers, right? And we've been realizing that there's a few of us, I won't say that much, but there's a few of us that are doing the same thing. And we're creating that that friendship and that connection between us, so we can create more music to the ensembles available in El Salvador.
Fantastic.
In fact, it's happening. We're having more competitions right now. I don't remember in my years before, I don't remember seeing a music competition in El Salvador, for example. Right, so those are the things that we have right now that we didn't have back then, and I think that are very important.
Wonderful. So a club, an association of composers meeting other Salvadoran composers and creating, I guess you could say, your own Salvadoran community of composers. Wonderful. So now let's get to some music. Here we have a video of Healing by Juan Guerra González. So, Mr. González, tell us a little bit about healing and what style of music defines your work.
Okay, so well, healing, it's a piece I wrote last year, and it's a piece very close to my heart because I wrote the piece when the pandemic started, basically. I'm also a piano teacher. I didn't mention that before, but I teach piano, and when the pandemic started and the quarantine started, I had to switch all my students to remote learning, right? And one of the parents of one of my students told me over the phone when we were talking about the pandemic and everything, she told me, you know, Juan, we need music in our lives now more than ever. We need to heal. Then I was like, okay, what I can do, what I can do to try to heal whatever thing is happening. And the obvious answer was music. All right, I'm a composer. Then I decided to create a work as a tribute to all essential workers, right, who were fighting the pandemic. And you know, New York City was one of the hardest hit places, right? And so we were in the middle of that. That's why that's the environment in which the word was created, right? And the other thing that I want to say about healing is that the piece is very close to my heart because it allowed me to work with two great musicians living in Costa Rica, Dr. Rebecca Ordóñez, the pianist, and Johan Chapellin, the one who played the violin. At the beginning, it will be just one movement, but then I decided to create 3 more movements or 3 more parts for the work. And 2 of them have been premiered already, and the other 2 are pending. But there's a project that we're working on the whole work of healing that eventually you will know. If you visit my website, you could learn more about that eventually.
I've just published that in the link to that in the chat room for anybody who is interested to know, to hear Healing Again, to learn more about it.
Thank you.
So I guess my other question to you, Mr. González, would be, tell us about what influences your music. When you first played us the piano piece that you first showed the person who told you to be a composer, I felt like I could hear some influences also in healing.
Yes. So my music is what a lot of people would call tonal music, right? I'm more focused on working with tonal centers, and one of the things that I like a lot in music is when I have a lot of dissonance between the chords, or very close notes. For example, if I have the note of E and then I play the F together, that create that short sound or short distance sound that I like a lot, and I use a lot of that in my music. And one of the chords that serve as an idea for healing is this one. That if you listen to the chord, has a lot of sounds in the middle. So I think that type of sound is a big influence to me.
I just have a slightly clever remark to you, and I'd like to ask, do you think that the semitone that you like so much has anything to do with this competition between you and your cousin concerning Fur Elise?
Probably. Probably.
Can you play the beginning of Fur Elise for us, please?
Oh yeah, well, I can play it different the way that I used to do it, because when I was little, the only thing that's all my mom tried to teach us, right? But right now it's right? That's something different.
How fast did your cousin play it?
I don't remember. It was probably something like this. Something like that, probably. But he did it.
I'm impressed. Okay, so let's have our next video, music by Mr. Ávalos. Here we go. So, Mr. Ávalos, as we listened to that, I could hear what you told us before about composing, how themes go through your mind, you write them down, you wonder which instrument should that be for. It's very clear you are incredibly passionate about your craft, like you said. Tell us a little bit about your routines, what defines how you write music, what do you listen to music while you're writing? How does that all work?
Yes. So just about that piece that we heard, that's El Juco. That's the winning entry for the Pan American Symphony Orchestra composition competition. And yes, I had few instruments to work with that composition. So I wanted to make the most out of them. I wanted to make them all kind of have a very interesting thing to play, very interesting lines. I think that as a composer, we have to thread this line between making music that just accompanies the main instrument and also giving each instrumentalist a very interesting idea. So my craft is actually recently been very based on dance rhythms. And I didn't mention this, but a few years before starting as a composer for classical music, I've been a bass player in many jazz ensembles. So jazz is really rhythm based. It's all about the rhythm and also improvisation, but the groove and the rhythm is a very central part of jazz and all popular music. So I really want to focus in on what makes a rhythm sound like a rhythm, what makes a Brazilian samba sound like a samba, what makes, a tango sound like a tango. And so for this piece, I actually really wanted to zero into what makes the souk, which is our traditional folklore dance in El Salvador, sound like a souk, and bring that out into a orchestral setting.
And tell us about this souk instrument. How have you been acquainted with it? Did you grow up listening to it, or did you have to get an MP3 on iTunes?
Yes, in this case, for this competition, I actually did some research. It took about 2 weeks. There are a few recordings out there of El Souk, but the few recordings that I had to listen to, which were 5 at most, I just kind of got the feeling of what's the bass doing. It's a really fast dance. Actually, this this piece that you heard has a actually lower tempo than the actual souk rhythm. And it has mixes of other ideas, mostly rhythmic. And those dances, I had to listen to, what's the bass doing? Where are the accents? Are the accents on the strong beat, on the weak beat? And, kind of make I had to do a reverse engineer of the rhythm, because we actually don't have any written records of how to orchestrate a souk. At least I haven't found any. So I had to do the reverse engineering of taking apart a souk and then rebuilding something new out of it.
Okay, fantastic. And so clearly the competition judges were very pleased with it. Did they give you any feedback about what they liked so much about it?
The judges said that it was well balanced. So, I mean, every instrument at one point or another had a really prominent part, and it was well integrated into the whole texture of the piece. The winds are actually the ones that do most of the work, but I'm a double bass player myself, so I wrote a really really tough part for the double bass, which I know is playable, but I wanted the double bass player to have fun with it too.
Okay, fantastic. So let's take a look at Juan Guerra González submission to this competition. Fantastic. So, Mr. González, so if I'm not mistaken, I hear that seriousness that seems to pervade all of your music, that it's has a deep message that comes with it. Am I right?
Yes, you are actually right. So, well, the work was based, as you may read in the video, it was based on the 6 sones from Los Chapetones. That's a dance in El Salvador, right, in Panchimalco. That's the specific location. And I'm super fortunate to have a mother-in-law who is a cultural researcher. She did a lot of research about the folk rhythms and folk music in El Salvador, and she gave me a lot of material for the composition of that work, and all the background from the piece. What I did is I took those rhythms and I tried to transform the rhythms and in different ways, right? So I may use the rhythm sometimes in the bass line, and then I reorchestrated on top of that, or I took the melody and turned it around, did a little twist and work on that. That's the way the piece was built, and yes, definitely are a lot of feelings and a lot of passion within the music. I think passion, obviously, for our culture, right, our country, and our heritage, basically, right.
Wonderful. So unfortunately, we are very almost out of time. So I'd like to quickly ask both of you if you would tell us about your most recent project and how is it that you see the future of the music scene in El Salvador and how you'd like to contribute. Why don't we start with you, Mr. González?
Sure. Well, my most recent project, then, I'm currently collaborating a lot with the pianist that you saw in the first video, Dr. Rebecca Ordóñez. I'm currently working on a couple of pieces for them. A little piano concerto that I just finished, and a piece for viola and piano that hopefully will receive the premiere soon. And as how I see the future of the music in El Salvador, I think it is exciting. I can describe it as that, because as we mentioned before, this new generation of composers like Audiel and other colleagues that are working outside are doing a fantastic job. And the fact that now we have colleges and universities in El Salvador offering formal training in music, it's great. So the future is still what I can say is exciting, right?
Fantastic, and we hear it in your music as well as the music of Mr. Ávalos. Mr. Ávalos?
Well, my projects right now, I've actually been working a lot on other competitions since I got the first win with this winning prize. Then I decided, hey, why not? I'll try submitting other works to other competitions. The most recent one is another dance-based piece for a wind band, which I submitted to a band, a symphonic band based in Massachusetts in the U.S. That was a competition open to everyone all over the world. So I'm hoping the best for that piece that I wrote. Also, I'm working on a symphonic piece, a larger piece than El Juco, for the an El Salvador composition promoted by the Ministry of Culture, which is the first of its kind, I guess, I haven't heard of any other composition competitions coming out of the Ministry of Culture from my country. So that's a first, and I'm really excited to present that work. And aside from that, I have to juggle time with my conservatoire repertoire, which I played double bass. So I have to juggle time with composition, playing the bass and whatnot. And with regards to the scene of music in El Salvador, I think it's looking great. I think it's really promising. Really, what we need now is actually most of us, which we recently learned about each other. I recently met Mr. González back in December. So we've known each other for a short time, and then we've learned of other Salvadorans that are working and studying abroad that are also putting their time into composition. So it's great to just have us all come together and have the opportunities to meet up, and also have opportunities to have our music played by ensembles abroad and also in El Salvador. So we're really hopeful.
Wonderful. So thank you so much to Mr. Ávalos. Thank you to Mr. González. I'd like now to hand the microphone back to Madam Ambassador.
I thank you so much, Mr. Morrow, for giving us the opportunity today to take part of this wonderful, amazing event. Some comments, just a very short intervention, just to say how amazed I am. Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Thank you, Mr. Ávalos, because I guess tonight I personally have learned a lot of music, as well as it was nice to see the pictures of your videos through which you also presented part of our country, the landscapes, but also you presented some pictures of the traditions such as food, but also the dances, the costumes we have in El Salvador, and as well as archaeological sites, which are part of our history. So thank you so much. I also took note on what you said regarding how do you see the future of music in El Salvador. And I am also very pleased because your considerations, your points of view, as well as your comments are very important for the new era and for the new El Salvador, the new country we are building. So thank you so much. As you highlighted, it's true, previously things were kind of different, but now things are changing and we are implementing a lot of new things. And since you also, you mentioned the contest, for example, is one of the new initiatives we are trying to implement in order to give more opportunities to the new generations, which are the future. Having in mind also the words you expressed about new generations, I would like to just say that, for example, after listening and also understanding part of the story of both composers, I would like to say, for example, about the participation of Mr. Audiel Ávalos in the Pan American Symphony Orchestra contest. It was amazing to know that it was his first composition he submitted, but all the story he shared with us about the work he did, as well as the dedication and the engagement to this composition, had a reward, and indeed, he won the first prize. So it is amazing, and also, in my opinion, very encouraging to new generations to continue working, to put in some efforts in order to get what they really wanted to get. And as we listen, he continues working same situation happens with Mr. Guerra. He both mentioned that they started very, very young when they were still children. And in a way, the story he shared with us about his cousin and how in a way he was encouraged, motivated, or maybe he said, I can do, and he could do it. I'm curious to know what the cousin is doing right now. However, I know this is not the place, but I just wanted to say that since you are a teacher and you continue working in the field of the composition, music composition, it is very good to know that new generations have two good examples, two persons. They are living abroad. However, they continue being engaged with what they do, what they love to do, which is music. And I fully agree with you. We need more Salvadorian people dedicating their lives to compose music, to be musicians, because I can see in both of you the talents you are and how amazing you are. So thank you again. I wish you all the best. And thank you, Mr. Morrow, for giving us the opportunity to present in this event the good things El Salvador has. Thank you so much, and good evening to everybody.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. So let's see how we can stay in touch with the Salvadoran Embassy to Austria. There we have it. It is on Facebook, and I will give you the link right now, Embajada de El Salvador in Austria. Let me put that in the chat room. There it is. And how we can stay in touch with Audiel Ávalos. He is giving us his email right here. I'll put it in the chat room. And how we can stay in touch with Juan Carlos Guerra. I will show that right now. There's his website, juancarlosguerra.com. There it is. Fantastic. So I'll put that in the chat room right now. So once again, thank you, Madam Ambassador. Thank you, Mr. Ávalos, and thank you very much, Mr. González. Let's take a look at next week. We have our show, Kelly McGarry and Jesus Sanz, Musicians for the World Incorporated. Kelly McGarry and Jesus Sanz, co-founders of Musicians for the World Incorporated, a charitable organization based in the USA, aspire to teach music students in every corner of the world by virtual music education. Come welcome Kelly and Jesus to our show for a look at the future of music education, and let's hear from some of their truly international music students. As always, all information is available at www.simeonmorrow.com. Again, that's next Wednesday, Kelly McGarry and Jesus Sanz, Musicians for the World Incorporated. So once again, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Thank you, Mr. Ávalos. Thank you, Mr. González.
I thank you also. And congratulations to both musicians and also to Mr. Morrow. All the best. Take care. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So from
Good evening,
Vienna,
everybody. Thank you.
Austria. So from Vienna, Austria, from Buenos Aires, Argentina, from New York, goodbye, and see you next Wednesday.